Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be doing a 3 looks 1 palette using the Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions palette. I bought this palette a while ago and I feel like I haven't featured it that much. I love the tones in these. I love coral eyeshadows. I love pink eyeshadow. I love any tone that will like make my eyes look really green. So I really enjoy this palette. I love this look that I came up with today. I think it is really pretty. So if you would like to see how I got it and the other 2 looks that are to come, then just keep watching. We've never been this close to my face before, but let's go ahead and get started. So first I'm going to start today's look. I think we're gonna do something a little bit more neutral today. So I'm going to start by taking this shade right here and I'm going to take that through my crease. And for this, I'm using circular motions just to kind of get a really nice blend. Next, I'm going to pick up this kind of more darker peachy shade up here, and I'm going to take that a little bit lower in my crease. Again, just going in circular motions. I'm going to switch back to that first brush and the first shade that we used and just blend this out a little bit more. I'm going to take the darkest shade in the palette and start putting that in the outer corner of my eye for some definition. And I'm gonna just keep on blending, going back to the coral shade that we used first. And then the first shade and first brush that we used. Okay, so I'm happy with where that is at, so I'm going to take my NYX glitter glue and put that on my eyelid to prep for the shimmer. And then I'm going to use this shimmer shade today, and I'm going to just put that all over my lid, starting with a finger, and a little pointer finger here. And then I'm going to go back and blend that out using the same steps that I have been using to blend my eyeshadow out. So I just cleaned this up just a little bit with my foundation brush. For my lower lash line, I'm going to take that coral shade. And then I'm going to take that deepest shade just on the outer little corner here. I'm going to go in with the ColourPop Creme Gel Liner in the shade Gobie for my waterline. And then I'm going to do my mascara off camera real quick, but I'm going to be using this little mini of the Milk Makeup Kush mascara. I am so messy when I put on mascara, so if you are too, you're not alone. So I'm going to zoom you out and we are going to finish up the face and the lips. Zoe's very nervous. Same. Okay, for bronzer, I'm going to be taking the Maybelline City Bronzer. I'm going to use this blush right here from a brand I don't support, so I'm not going to say what it is. You can probably figure it out, but I'm just not going to even mention it by name. And then I'm actually going to be using a new highlight today. I don't really know how it's gonna go, but this is the RMS Beauty Living Luminizer. It's like a cream highlight, but it's like a very stiff cream highlight. But we're gonna give it a shot. It's very natural. I don't dislike it. It's just very natural. Maybe I can layer some up. I think that's really pretty, actually. I just feel like I really gotta dig in there. I'm gonna line my lips with the ColourPop Lippie pencil in the shade So Happy. And then I'm actually just gonna go in with a gloss. This is the ColourPop Ultra Glossy Lip in the shade Cozumel. It came out in their Coast to Coral collection, and it's one of my favorites. And this is the first look complete. Let's move on to the second one. Alright guys, so for this one I have to do a voiceover because my dogs would not stop barking, so here we are. This is going to be a sunset eye, and I started going in with a really big fluffy brush with this yellow shade and just blending it all throughout my crease because I knew that this wasn't going to get like super dark purple like how a sunset eye typically is, but I did just want to have it fade really nicely. And then I went in with this coral shade. Out of the two true matte corals in this palette, this is the one that's a little bit lighter, and I really worked on building this one up a lot.
No.
And I just kept building it up, and then I went back in with the brush that I used the yellow with and a little bit more yellow to blend it all together. And then I went in with the hot pink in this palette and started working that even closer to my lash line. That's basically just what I did with every single shade that I use. I put it a little bit lower than the shade before and then would go back in and blend it out. A lot of this is me not 100% in frame. Like I said, I'm still getting used to working with this camera and being up close. I went back in with that coral shade to blend it out, and here I am blending it out with the yellow once again. And then I went in with this really, it's not like really dark, but it's the darkest shade in the palette, and it's a nice warm tone, kind of like red brown shade, and I put that the closest to my lash line. And I did want it to stand out a little bit more than I ended up having it stand out, but I did the best that I could with the shades that I have, and at the end it did turn out really well. So I went back in with the hot pink and then the coral, and then I started cleaning up the edges with my foundation brush just because it was looking a bit crazy. On the lower lash line, I basically did what I did on top. So I first went in with the yellow and then the hot pink. and then that dark brown shade, and then I went back in with the yellow one more time at the end to blend it all together. This is the Queen Studios Dragon Wax Liner, and I really wiggled that into my lashes just to give a little bit of definition. I didn't want to put like full liner on. This is the ColourPop Creme Gel Liner in the shade Marigold, and I ended up putting that in my waterline just for like a little pop of yellow. I easily could have used the ColourPop Creme Gel Liner in the shade Gobie, but I used that in the look before and didn't want to use it again. Curling my lashes with the Japonesque lash curler. Not a huge fan of this lash curler, but it does the job. And then I went into my Voss highlighter palette, and this is the this is the shade Sugar, and this is the highlight palette that I use for my face, but I use that one shade to highlight my inner corners. The Victoria Beckham Future Lash Mascara. It's really nice. Got it in a Nipsey. I enjoy it. And then I started bronzing my face up with the Milk Makeup Matte Bronzer in the shade Baked. I really built this up. I got out like literally 2 minutes of me building up this bronzer. I love this bronzer, and I love just piling it on and building it up. So I really went in with this bad boy. Oh, and there's Zoe popping up, getting a little nervous, because she always is a little bit nervous. And there, that was all the 2 minutes of the bronzing that I cut out. This is the e.l.f. Baked Blush in the shade Peachy Cheeky. It's just like, it doesn't have a lot of a base color to it, but it's very shimmery and has a little bit of pink to it, and I thought it just like complemented the look very well. It didn't take away from the pink in the eye look, it just added a little bit of something to the cheeks. And then here I am going back into that Voss highlighter palette. This is the shade Spice, and it's a little bit more of a pink shade, and I just highlighted all the places that I normally highlight with. So obviously my cheekbones, my forehead, like kind of above each eyebrow, down my nose, my chin, and my cupid's bow. And then I started lining my lips with the NYX lip liner in the shade Mauve or Mauve, depending on what side of the world you live on. I didn't do, this is not anything special. I literally just lined my lips with it and had a hard time not covering up my face with my mirror, which is a very common theme throughout all of this. I guess I did shade in my lips just a tiny bit so that the lipstick that I went in with would fade to the lip liner nicely. And then the lipstick that I used is the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream in the shade Stockholm. I finally figured out why YouTubers use the hand thing, because it helps them focus. It really does. And this combo actually was so pretty together. I love the peachy lipstick. I just thought it was gorgeous, and I thought that it looked really good with the eye look. And then to top everything off, I went in with the Wet n Wild X Bretman Rock Jungle Rock Lip Gloss. That is so hard to say. I literally had to rehearse it before I started this voiceover. It's like a sheer gloss with like some purple blue reflect in it. I loved the way that this look turned out, and I hope you do too. Here's a little close-up of the eyeballs, the lashes. Ugh, looks so good. See you in the next look. Alright, let's jump right into the third look. I'm going to start by taking the middle shade as my transition color. And we're going to be doing a halo eye today. So next I'm going to take this bottom middle shade and start building that up on the inner and outer corners. And I kind of drag it up to the middle because it will meet the other side there in the middle. And then I'm going to take the darkest shade in the palette and start building that up, but like even tighter and closer in, not blending it out as much. I'm gonna go back to the first shade and the first brush and just kind of work on blending everything together. I'm gonna take the second shade that we used, the one that's on the bottom row, and apply that to the outer and inner third of my bottom lash line. I'm going to take my NYX glitter primer and apply that to the empty-ish space that we have in the middle of the lid. And then I'm going to take this shimmer and apply that with my finger on top of where I put that glitter primer. And I'm kind of using my finger to start the blend over into the matte shades. And then I'm going to start blending that out. So I do this a lot. I brought the glitter glue up too high and now my matte shades are clinging to it. Love when I do that. Thank you, self. On a really small little tiny blending brush, I'm going to take the shimmer that we used and put it in the middle of my lower lash line, just to kind of mimic the shape and the shades that we're doing on the top lash. So I'm going to take my KVD Vegan Cosmetics Cake Pencil in the shade Trooper Black and apply that really close to the outer lash line. And then I'm going to take a little tiny little blending brush and just smudge that out just a little bit. I don't want to do like a wing shape, but I want a little bit of extra definition just on those lashes out here. I just took a little food break, so if things look a little slightly different, that is why. And I was like, had some hot sauce, so my nose was running and now my foundation's gone. I'm gonna go in with the highlighter that I'm gonna use for my face, which is from this Random Trend Beauty highlighting palette that I got in a BoxyCharm, and I'm gonna use this middle shade called Mystical, and I'm going to use that to highlight the inner corner of my eyeballs. Shut up! And now I'm going to do my mascara off of camera because it takes me about 18 years to do my mascara, but I'm going to be using the Trestique Good Vibes mascara. So I forgot to do this before my mascara, but I'm going to take the ColourPop Bambi Creme Gel Liner in the shade Meadow and put that in my waterline. It just adds a little bit of brightness there. So this is the eye look complete. And now we're going to zoom out to finish up the rest of the face. Okay, so for my bronzer, I'm going to use my very old, very chewed up, beat up Too Faced Sweethearts bronzer in the shade Sweet Tea. This has been my favorite bronzer since I was a sophomore in high school when I first got it. And I feel like I don't use it as more just because I feel like because it's so old, it doesn't perform like it once did. Not that it looks bad, it just takes so much more building up to get it to look how I want it to than it did before, which isn't like a huge deal, and it doesn't really bother me that much. But I don't know, I just find it's not as an enjoyable experience to apply it as it once was, but I still think that it is probably the prettiest bronzer in my collection. Even if I didn't think it was the prettiest bronzer in my collection, I'd still probably keep it around just for the memes. For blush, I'm going to be using the Patrick Ta Double Take Creme and Powder Blush in the shade She's So LA, and I'm just going to use the powder today. And I feel like I don't really have a preference for blush placement like on my face specifically. I kind of just switch back and forth between the different looks that I want. I'll typically apply it closer in and like across my nose if I want to look like a little bit more sun-kissed. But then sometimes I feel like it makes my face look like, I don't know, not how I want it to look like that. Not sun-kissed, but more like, almost like I have a stripe. And it just doesn't look the best sometimes, and maybe it's just because I don't apply it the best and I like do it haphazardly or whatever. But recently, like all this week, I've been liking to apply it like up higher on my cheekbones to almost give like that lifted, more contoured effect. This blush is like very intensely pigmented. I'm going to go back in with my foundation brush and just brought it a little too close to my under eye. And I am going to take like just a tiny bit up and over my nose just to make the whole blush look a little bit more cohesive on my face. And then for my highlighter, like I said, I'm using this Trend Beauty Unicorn Dust highlighter palette. I'm going to use the shade Mystical. I haven't actually used this on my cheeks yet. The first time I used it was actually for that inner corner highlight. I don't think this highlighter palette would work for skin tones like much lighter or deeper than me, just because this shade I'm using right now is the darkest shade in the palette and it's pretty perfect for me. It doesn't have a white cast, but it also doesn't have a dark cast, and I think that if you were much darker than me, all the shades would give you a pretty intense white cast, but if you were much lighter than me, would give you a pretty intense dark cast. So it's not an inclusive highlighter palette. But like I said, I did not technically like pick this out. It was in a BoxyCharm, and so I thought I would give it a try. But yeah, the highlighters are pretty, they look nice, it's just not like, it's not inclusive. All right, and now we're going to finish up with the lips. I'm going to line my lips with the Thrive Cosmetics lip liner in the shade Devon, which I also got in an Ipsy this past month. This lip liner is like extremely creamy, which is not actually my favorite in a lip liner. I like my lip liners to be like just a little bit more stiff, with which I know sounds so ridiculous, but I use lip liner to help prolong the wear of my lipstick. I find that if my lip liners are too slippy and creamy, they don't do what I want them to do. I want my lip liner to kind of help like prolong the wear of my lipstick, and if they're too creamy and slippy, they'll just like slip off with my lipstick. I like them to be a little bit more firm and like almost sticky, because I want them to like stay on my lips, you know, and help prevent my lipstick from like going outside of my lip line, the whole thing. So I'm going to be taking, for my lipstick color, this is currently in my Shop My Stash, this is the Givenchy La Rose Perfecto Lip Balm in the shade 302. It's this beautiful, like bright orange, but it's a lip balm, so it's very sheer. This lip color turned into something I didn't know it was going to, but I don't actually hate it. I kind of think it's really pretty. That lip liner was also like a lot more purple than I thought it was going to be. Like, this is a pretty interesting color. It's almost like sunset lips, but I think it's really pretty and I kind of like it. But I am going to put a gloss on. I also really like this lip gloss because it's like kind of tingly. I enjoy it. The lip gloss I'm going to use is just this little sample of the Sephora Collection lip gloss in the shade Voss. It's literally just a clear lip gloss, but I want my lips to be a little juicier. Yeah, I really like that lip combo actually. I put way too much dry shampoo in and now my roots are like, I look like I'm aging. This is the finished third and final look. Alright, and that is it for this video. I really enjoyed this palette. I love Huda Beauty's formula. I have another Obsessions palette and I also have the Mercury Retrograde, and while I do think this formula is a little bit different than the Mercury Retrograde, it is still a really nice formula. The shimmers are so nice and creamy. And I mean, you saw them both in action. They're both so gorgeous and reflective, and I just had a good time using this palette. I went into filming this excited to use the shadows, and for me that's a really good sign. And I do really enjoy the three looks that I came up with as well. They were all kind of like a little bit more fiery and intense, which I actually really like in eyeshadow. I love wearing more like really warm, like fiery tones on my eyes just because I do have green eyes and it makes them pop, and I love when my eyes pop. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you will give it a thumbs up and maybe subscribe before you go, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. Bye!